Hey guys, and welcome to my October wrap up, where I wrap up the books that I read in October. I hadn't thought I read that many books this month, but looking at the stack beside me, I've done a good job, so pat on the back for me. Two of these books, well, I'll show you two books that I haven't hauled yet. So there's not enough for a whole haul video, but we'll show you what they are. Anyway, the first is Dorothy Must Die volumes. What? Dorothy Must Die Stories, Volume 3. Now, I'm not massively excited for this book, but it was only like $5.50 on Book Depository, and I've read every other book in the series. It is a book of short stories to go along with the Dorothy Must Die series, and yeah, a disappointing series, I will admit, but I haven't read it yet, so we're going to stack it over here, and the other book, I will tell you what it is when we come to it, because I haven't read it yet, but I've started it, so it's at the bottom of the pile, and I don't want to take it out because effort. The first book that I read this month was Metamorphoses by Ovid. It is essentially just a huge big like thumbs up for Caesar from the author, because he was like swatting up, wanted to make Caesar like him and all that jazz, so it's like saying essentially that Caesar has descended from the gods. Anyway, that's kind of the whole point of this, but you see so many other myths and stuff as you read through it. Now, I've read a couple of these for class, and I decided randomly that I wanted to read the rest of them because familiarize myself with some myths, because that's what I love to do. Anyway, I really enjoyed some of these, and some, I will admit, I had no idea what was going on. It probably would have been better had I studied every story, but I mean, who has time for that? So, semi-enjoyable? I don't know, if you're into classics and mythology, then this is one to check out. The next book I read I actually did a review for, and that is When Dimple Met Rishi by e.m.m.a.g.a.n. This is a contemporary book about two kids who go to a summer computer programming summer camp thing, and it's very cute, very contemporary. If you like contemporaries, you'll probably like this. I enjoyed it, and I don't particularly like contemporaries. But the main thing that I liked about this book was the characters, but if you want to hear more of my thoughts specifically on this book, I will try and remember to link the review below. If I don't, just remind me in the comments and I'll do it after that. Next, I read Elusive by Emily Lloyd-Jones. This is a book I actually won in a biannual bibliothon a couple of years ago, so thank you so much to the hosts for, you know, choosing my video for this. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I finally got around to reading this book, and it is a young adult dystopian-esque book where there has been a plague, and the children and people who've survived it and taken this medicine have developed supernatural powers. Like, the main girl can create illusions, but there's also stuff like photographic memories and mind reading and stuff like that. This main girl, I can't pronounce her name, I think it's Sierra. This main character joins a band of criminals, and together they do heists and stuff, so it's quite a fun, fast-paced story. I really enjoyed the beginning particularly, slowed down a bit towards the end, but I did enjoy this book. I think I gave it 3.5 or 4 stars out of 5. Can't remember which, because I did read it at the start of the month. So I did enjoy it, and I'm really glad to have finally got to it, because it is one of those books that I've been meaning to read for a while. And next, I have my notebook beside me to remind me that I read Murder on the Disoriented Express, which is the novella for the Elusive series that goes between the first and second book. I can't really go into details because, I mean, it's between the two stories and it would spoil things, but it is about the main character and a new character that we met in the end of the first book, and they're on a train and there's a murder. And it's kind of like Murder on the Orient Express, but it's Murder on the Disoriented Express. Anyway, quite a nice novella, but the one thing I will say about it is that there's quite a lot of recapping, and for a book that's only 50 pages long, we don't really need 10-15 pages of recapping the main story. It just seemed unnecessary. I've already read that kind of stuff. Anyway, quite enjoyable for a novella. Did pick up pace, definitely. Became very enjoyable towards the end, and I think I gave that 4 out of 5 stars, but I'm not sure. You can check my Goodreads and tell me I'm wrong if you want to, or you can be nice and ignore it. The next book I read was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This was a reread. It's a graphic novel with 5, I think, short stories about this creepy woodland fairy tale-esque stories. Each one gets darker and darker, and some of the stories in this are quite scary and spooky, and I really enjoyed reading it. I read it at night time, and it was just a good time. It was just a good time. I recommend this if you like scary books or if you want to try graphic novels, because before I read this book I wasn't crazy on graphic novels, but this one really made me appreciate them and actually want to pick up some more. So I would recommend this if you want to try graphic novels, and if you like spooky stories. I think I gave this 5 out of 5 stars because it really was quite fantastic. The next thing I read I actually picked up because I saw Goodbye Christopher Robin, and how could you not pick up Winnie the Pooh? Now, I've never been crazy about Winnie the Pooh. See, I didn't really enjoy the Disney movies, but then when my parents got this huge big anthology of it and I'd flick through and I was like, the illustrations look different, the story is different to the cartoon, I don't like it. But then I saw the movie Goodbye Christopher Robin and I was like, you know what, I feel like I'm missing out on something, I better read it. So this big collection has the novels bound up, but also all of e.m.m.a.g.a.n's poems and poetry that is in relation to Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh. And you know what, I really enjoyed it. I think it was because I'm a little bit older and so I was looking for different things to appreciate in it. I wasn't looking to be entertained as I was when I was younger. I liked fantasy stories, you know, sweet little things like this didn't hold my interest for very long. But this is just a really sweet, really nice little collection of stories, very different to the cartoons, so if you're expecting that, just don't. Anyway, it is about this little boy called Christopher Robin who lives in the 100-acre woods, and all of his stuffed animals that in the story are real, and they kind of go on little adventures together, and it's very sweet. It's one I'm so glad to have picked up and tried again, because I don't think I ever would have if I hadn't seen the movie. I can't believe I didn't like these when I was younger. But I think I ended up giving this 4.5 stars out of 5. The only reason I didn't give it 5 is because I felt like I was missing that sense of nostalgia that should have come with it. But because I was never into Winnie the Pooh, I didn't have that nostalgia. I took away marks as well because if you've seen the movie, you'll know that someone had to suffer for these stories to become popular. And I didn't feel good about that. And I'm sure it's true of a lot of other stories where the main character is based on someone real. But anyway, enjoyable, sweet little stories. I'm sad that someone had to suffer for them. The next thing that I read then was Night of Cake and Puppets by Laini Taylor. This is a novella to go along with the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. It is about the main character of that series' best friend called Susanna and how she got a boyfriend. I do recommend reading this after the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series because otherwise you'll be missing some very important things. But it is a fantasy novella and super cute, very magical in the writing but also in the plot. It's illustrated, which is just, I mean, it's just fantastic, isn't it? But a lovely novella, definitely one of my favorite that I've ever read novella wise. Laini Taylor is just an incredible writer though, and the illustrations are beautiful. So if you've read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series but you haven't read this, or you haven't heard of Night of Cake and Puppets maybe, definitely go look for it, go find it, go read it, because it's so worth it. The next thing I read then is Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo, which is another illustrated fantasy book of short stories that go along with her Grisha series. You don't have to have read any of Leigh Bardugo's other books for these stories to make sense, because it is like the folklore of those worlds. So I mean, they do stand alone as individual fairy tale type stories, but you'll definitely appreciate them more if you've read the Grisha series. These stories are stunningly illustrated. They all have like really dark twists. They're quite dark and quite creepy, though they don't go the whole way to scary. It's honestly just a stunning little collection of stories. Leigh Bardugo did just a fantastic job, like a fantastic job. So if you're looking for something to read, I would recommend these. The next thing then that I read was The End of Oz by Danielle Page. This is the last book in the Dorothy Must Die series. I didn't love this book. I'm trying really hard not to just bash it. There was a lot of problems I had with this series. It started off pretty strong with the first book. It's a retelling of the Wizard of Oz stories where Dorothy has returned to Oz and she's a tyrant. But with every book, the series just went downhill. Everything that was working in the first book suddenly was dragged out. It wasn't working. I think this is like the 4th or the 5th or the 6th book. I was bored most of the time when I read this. And I don't want to say much else because I don't want to drag it through the dirt. But suffice it to say that I didn't enjoy this at all. I think I gave it 2.5 on Goodreads, but I think I was being probably more generous than I should have been. The next book I read is Carrie Hope Fletcher's All That She Can See. I want to preface this next little thing I'm going to say by saying that I love Carrie, absolutely love her channel, her videos, and the idea for this book was great. but I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Okay, I don't mean any of this as a personal attack. I do love Carrie. First, I'm going to tell you what this is about. It is about a girl called Cherry who owns her own bakery. Cherry can see emotions as physical monsters that go around with people. And that idea is really cute, and I can see where she's going with it. It's like an inside out kind of thing, dealing with your emotions. But I think that's where the story stopped being good for me. There were a couple of issues that I had with this book. The main one being that the writing was very straightforward. Like, everything was explained, perhaps over-explained. The ending felt like it came out of nowhere, and the first, I'm not going to spoil, but like the first half of the book seemed completely irrelevant by the ending, and it just seemed like, well, what happened to the first half? There were a couple other little problems, but like with the book before this, I don't want to drag it through the dirt. I do love Carrie, but I didn't really enjoy this book. If you've read it, let me know what you think below. But it definitely was a nice idea. It was a good idea, but I'm not sure it was executed as well as it could have been. So I actually don't know what I gave this on Goodreads. I think it was 3 stars, but again, I think I was being too generous. Sorry, I'm sorry, don't hate me, don't hate me. I'm moaning Myrtle, obviously. Actually, I can't take credit for this. I saw this costume idea on the internet and I kind of loved it. I wore it to a Halloween dance and no one knew who I was. They were all like, oh, you're a toilet. Cool. I even wrote it on the back. I'm moaning Myrtle. I'm moaning Myrtle. Clearly. So I assume you guys will appreciate it slightly more than they did. Anyway, the next thing that I read was Deceptive. This is the other book that I'm hauling / not really hauling because I didn't have enough books for a haul. It is the sequel to Elusive by Emily Lloyd-Jones. This is the second book and the last book in the duology. I can't really go into plot because spoilers, but I'm only about a third or a quarter of the way through, and I think I kind of got a little bit stuck on it. I don't think that I'm enjoying it as much as I could do, and I don't know why. I'm hesitant to say I'm in a reading slump, because I made a whole video on how I don't believe in reading slumps, but I'm definitely stuck a little bit on this book and I'm not reading it as quickly as I would like to. Just don't have much else to say about it yet because I haven't finished it. That's it. That's the last book that I started this month. I haven't got anything else to tell you. It's Halloween. Happy Halloween. Do I have any news for you? No. I am watching Harry Potter later with my sisters. Number 3 or number 4, haven't decided yet. You can vote down below, but we'll probably ignore that. And that's everything I have for you guys. This is such an annoying costume. Oh, well that's better. Let me know what you're dressing up as in the comments below if you're gonna dress up. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.